Hey everybody, I'm Mike, and today we're looking at a hive that I think is replacing their queen. So the last time I was in this colony, I saw some queen cells, and the colony was not building up very quickly. So very likely what had happened is that we had a queen that for whatever reason was not laying strongly enough to suit this colony, and they decided to replace her. Pretty everyday occurrence. It's how honeybees have managed to survive for millions of years. When they have a queen that isn't suiting the needs of the hive, they replace her with a new queen. And so I'm going to dig in here and see if we can't determine if that's actually happened. And if it has, where are we? So we'll take these frames out. You'll notice I'm wearing gloves today, and I've said before that I typically don't wear gloves. I don't wear gloves mostly because when I'm wearing gloves, it's easy for me to accidentally squash a bee. And then the whole hive gets worked up. And I don't want that to happen. But when they're going through the process of supersedure, of replacing their queen, they can get a little nervous. They can get a little on edge. And I also don't want to keep this open any longer than I have to because I'm moving slower than normal because the bees are antsy. So I have some gloves on today just to help that process along and see what we can see here. Look out, girl. And we can see on this side of the frame, up near the top of the frame, there is a queen cell right here. They're also building out some weird looking comb, but I'm not too worried about that. So let me put this back. And we'll take a look at the next one. Now these aren't, this cell that I just showed you was up near the top of the frame. That's how I know they're not preparing to swarm. Swarm cells tend to be down near the bottom of the frame. Supersedure cells up higher. And there tends to be only one on a frame, where with swarm cells you get many. So I do see capped brood here. So we have a queen, and the queen is laying. There's capped brood on this side also, and it looks really good. There's also larvae down in there. We have a laying queen. What we don't have is a queen that the colony has faith in. So it looks like they may be trying to replace her. And I'm not going to interfere with that. The bees know what they need, and I'm going to follow their lead throughout everything. Now we've got a beautiful frame of brood here. This is gorgeous, but you can see that queen cell down there at the bottom center. So there's something up. And this is a hive that has not built up as fast as the other one. And that's why I've said this in the beginning when I installed these, that I recommend starting with 2 hives so that you can compare them. You know, if I just had this one hive and this was my only one, it may have taken me a little longer to realize that they weren't building up very fast. But because I had another hive right next to it that I could compare it to, it was very easy to determine that they were not building up as quickly. And then it wasn't a surprise to see those queen cells on a recent inspection. And there's another queen cell on this frame, isn't there? No. Must have been the previous one. Well, there it is. So there's another queen cell right here, as opposed to a drone cell right here. So this colony has a laying queen, but she's not meeting the needs of the colony. So they are working on replacing her. You've got a couple options when you see that happening. If you want to very carefully control the genetics of your colony, you can destroy those queen cells and purchase a queen with the genetics that you want and introduce her. Or you can do as I'm doing and let the queen raise those bees, or let the colony raise a new queen. Now, what that's going to get me, in addition to a free queen, it's going to get me a queen that mated with drones in my local area. And so I'm kind of, I like that idea. And so I'm going to just let these girls do what they're doing. They're going to handle their business. They're going to take care of making sure that the colony has what it needs and has a queen that is strong enough to meet the needs of the colony. Let me scoot these all back. Which leads to the obvious question, why didn't that queen meet the needs of the colony? It could have been a number of reasons. It could have been genetics or, a congenital defect that caused this queen to not lay as strongly. It could have been that she was injured during packaging or during installation or when emerging from the queen cage. It could have been any number of things, and there's really, I'm not too terribly interested in finding out why she wasn't laying as strongly, as much as I am in identifying that she's not laying strongly enough and understanding that the bees are going to take care of that. And in order to help them out through this period, I'm going to put a feeder back on top. I love these hive top feeders. Previously, I was using entrance feeders because I didn't have one of these. And so I ordered this from Man Lake, and it was recently delivered. And I absolutely love these. It sits on top of the hive. The bees come up through the center. You can't see it very well on camera, but there's a raised passageway here with holes cut in the top. And so bees just crawl up the inside and through the hole. And then this mesh allows the bees to walk down to the level of the syrup, but keeps them out of the syrup. It also keeps things in the syrup from getting into the hive, like ants. I've got this, I think this will hold up to 3 gallons of syrup. I just put a gallon in this yesterday. So I think they're good for now, but it looks like we've got a good brood pattern. We've got a couple of queen cells. We have a colony that's taking care of their business. They are building up, just not as quickly as the other hives. So I'm going to close this up and let them do their thing. While we're here, let's take a look at our strong colony and get a new read on our wax versus plastic foundation experiment. Remember, 5 frames on this side of the box have plastic foundation. 5 frames on this side of the box have wax foundation. And I can tell you right now, we've got a result. Here's a frame of plastic foundation that the bees have not touched. Right, set that on my rest here. Here's another frame, completely untouched. and another frame that they're starting to draw out. They are starting to draw this out. That's good. I like what I see there. So let's pull out the rest of these and see what we've done. Look out, girl, coming through. I do talk to my bees. I don't think they know what I'm saying. I don't care. It makes me feel good. All right, not only is this drawn, this is full of syrup. I had placed a feeder on this one as well, just to help them out. And they've drawn pretty uniform comb there. That actually looks good. This next frame has some kind of wonky comb built. Let's see how it looks. We'll blow a little smoke in there. There we go. All right. Oh, and we have a frame of brood. Look at that. That is just gorgeous. And that's on plastic foundation. And I definitely can see the larva in here much easier against this black background. Absolutely. Easier to see things, especially as you get older, like me, and your eyes aren't as good as they used to be. Being able to see things, any help you can get. I don't know how I feel about putting plastic in the hive. And I don't know that I have a good reason for having reservations about that either. It's not something I've ever done. And so that's why I'm running this experiment. So this is wax foundation, and we've got brood, we've got nectar. I tell you, this bunch might be ready for a honey super before too much longer. We're going into a dry spell. It's going to be really dry. And I can see, just looking down in here, all but this last frame. So they've completely drawn out 4 frames of comb on wax foundation. They've drawn out almost 1 full frame of comb on plastic foundation. So they definitely prefer the wax to the plastic. I will say that, based on my sample size of 1. And I know that's problematic, but it's a starting point. And again, what's the best way to do things is very similar to asking somebody whose girlfriend is better. It's going to be what works well for you, honestly. So let's close this up, because I believe wearing these gloves, I've managed to pinch some bees, and they're starting to get a little defensive, and that's understandable. That's all me. Let's close these up. I'm not going to put the feeder back on. These girls seem to be doing okay. So we will just add the inner cover. And the outer cover. And we're going to call this a day. So that's where we are. We've got 1 hive that appears to be replacing their queen. And I'm going to let them proceed with that process on their own, because they seem to be handling it just fine. I've got the result I was looking for on the plastic foundation versus wax foundation experiment. Now, I've been told recently that the wax coating that comes on the plastic foundation is inadequate for bee acceptance, and that I should paint on a heavy layer of additional wax. And maybe that's the case. For me personally, that sounds like wax foundation with extra steps, so I probably won't do that. I'll use the plastic foundation that I have. I probably won't go out of my way to get more, because I know the result that I get with the wax foundation. Wax foundation is readily available. It's reasonably priced. It's only slightly more expensive than the plastic foundation. So for my own personal preference, I'm going to stick with what I know, and I'm going to go with the plastic foundation. You know, asking somebody which foundation is better is like asking somebody whose girlfriend is better. It's a very personal choice. And there's also the adage that if you ask ask 5 beekeepers a question, you're going to get 7 different answers. This is no exception to that. So yeah, I think I've found the answer to my question. Now, if you've had different results, if you've got advice for me, please drop that down in the comments. Let's have a conversation about this. I love learning new things from people just as much as I like sharing what I've learned. So let's definitely have a conversation about how things are going in your bee yard. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to subscribe. Give us a like. That always helps the channel. I've got a lot more content coming. So until next time, thanks a lot, everybody.